Hey folks, Lemonade here, and we have two additional legendary mouse pads from Lethal Gaming Gear, the Saturn and the Jupiter. We put them both again in the same video because there are a lot of similarities, but I think there is a big point that I want to cover as to why one of them is just a touch better. But we'll get into that. Alright folks, let's get some disclaimers out of the way. Lethal Gaming Gear did send me these free of charge for review, but that does not change my final opinion, and never will, on any product on the channel. Let's get into the finer details. First of all, box design, again, just like the previous two mouse pads I reviewed from the great boxes, nice, cool, minimalist designs, high quality stuff. Big thumbs up for that. In terms of sizing, it's just the same exact sizing as the Mercury and the Venus. So here we have 490 by 410. We also have the XL 500 by 500. This only is available on the Saturn in terms of these two. Then they have desk pad sizes of 1000 by 500 and then 1200 by 550. They all come in 4 millimeters. Pricing goes $29.99 to $59.99. The Jupiter is currently on a 50% off sale and has been for a while. And we'll get into the pricing a little bit later. They are all made in Taiwan, just so everyone is aware of where they're manufactured. Let's start off with some similarities. There is no coating on either of these pads, uniform X and Y performance. Both use a very standard natural rubber base. Zero issues on my desk, but nothing particularly special about it. I do have a customer concern with the logos. They are placed in a optimal corner in the bottom right here, so they're not in the way, but I am wondering how these are going to work when you wash them, because they are raised. They're kind of printed on top of the surface. You can definitely feel it. It's not in the surface. So again, with some mild soap and water, I don't know how this will fare over multiple washes. I haven't had to wash them, but maybe Lethal Gaming here can comment on this, or someone who has had these for long term can comment on the logos themselves. Humidity resistance has been no concern. It's way better than my old glorious mousepad, and I live in pretty much one of the most humid states in the US, so I don't think it can get much worse than my situation. Now let's focus on the Jupiter here first, in terms of what it differs in terms of performance. It has an incredibly smooth surface, super silky smooth. If you felt any other control pads before, it's very similar to those, but it's so nice on the arm. If you're not wearing a sleeve or you just are particular about the surface texture, this is buttery smooth. Though, because of that, it actually provides slower dynamic and static friction. So there's more dynamic friction, more static friction. You'll notice it a lot more in your inner hand movements, so the smaller adjustments. It's just more muddy in general. That's what you're going to find out of control pad. If you like that muddiness, you know, it's here in the Jupiter. Stitching is super nice. It's a touch over the surface, but hardly noticeable. And you know, in terms of QC, no fraying or nothing like that. The issue I had with the Jupiter, and this is kind of attested on their photo on the website, it is a bit wavy and doesn't want to sit necessarily straight. It came like that out of the box. It's slightly better now, but it's still, like on this side, it's a bit wavy, and over here. And I have tried to roll it and kind of bend it back. The issue with this pad, though, is it creases very easily when you go for a bend. The crease does kind of go away, kind of. You can see it. It doesn't really affect performance, but I don't know. It's something's up with this, and I think it's definitely a Jupiter thing, because it is on their website. You can see the kind of waviness on their side, and I'll show you that in a little bit. In terms of glide, I do this on all my mouse pads. The fastest glide is going to be your 4-corner design style skates, like the Model O series or the Glorious Mice series, Final Mouse series. This style of design is definitely going to be the fastest in terms of glide. It's almost off my desk. And then the slowest is going to be your glass skates, and this is generally always the case with glass skates. They get really stuck and you don't necessarily feel that on larger motions, but you can feel it a lot in those inner hand movements on glass skates, and that's just something that comes with it with broken in glass skates. These are about 2 months old, 3 actually at this point. It's just, if you want an extra level of muddiness and control, glass skates do provide that. Out of the box, they feel lightning fast, but that is deceiving. They will slow down on you, particularly the super glides. Between that, any PTFE feet, these are a tad slower than the 4-corner design, and the larger 2 design PTFE feet are a little bit slower than that. That's always generally the case. The less surface area, the faster the glide. So the larger the PTFE feet, they're going to be a touch slower in terms of glide performance. Now let's jump into the Saturn. Okay, the Saturn also has a smooth surface, but it actually feels more similar to a cloth pad. It's not that silky smooth surface. It has a bit of a texture, but it's super subtle. Very, very nice. It kind of reminds me of my Xten control, kind of. That's a bit more supple, but it's close. The dynamic and static friction, there's more of it, so it's generally going to slide and glide and have less tug on your movement in general. You'll notice it again a lot more on your inner hand movements. It's just more of a freeing pad. You have that kind of freeing motion with your movements. Stitching is super nice on this. Again, a touch over the surface. It's not really noticeable, but no QC issues here. And in terms of all the pads that they sent me, this one's really in the best shape. I haven't had any issues. There's no waviness. All the stitching is uniform and it lays flat, and it did right out of the box. So that is good to know. Again, though, something to watch out for if you're looking at lethal pads. Again, I have all 4 of them here that you got sent at the same time. And a couple of them are just a little bit not to my standard, so it's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if that's just a particular batch. Other reviewers have seemed to really love them, but just kind of something to note. I have about almost 20 mouse pads here, and these are the only ones that came to me, whether I bought them or for review, that had kind of some QC issues among some of their pads. So something to keep an eye on. In terms of glide, it's going to be the same story here. So your 4-corner skates like this are going to be the fastest. Then the Viper V2 style skates, your 2 larger feet like on a G Pro Superlight, and then your glass skates are going to be the slowest on the surface. And that's generally what you're going to find. So again, less surface area, less friction, faster movement. That's generally what you're going to find on skates. Of course, mouse weights and the style of skates can differ a little bit there, but that's over testing multiple pads. It's pretty par for the course. It's kind of what happens in terms of glide characteristics. Performance in game across these pads, I've done well on both of them, but I did notice more of an issue with the Jupiter down there. You would really need to know that you prefer more muddiness to grab the Jupiter, and that's why my personal choice would be the Saturn here. I prefer less tug on my inner movements, and the Saturn is just more versatile across different types of games. If you play primarily tack shooters, sure, maybe the Jupiter could work for you, especially if you're on a 50 centimeter 360 or up. That could work for you, but I think for most people, and especially people who are bouncing between games, you play Apex, maybe you play Valorant, this is a better, safer choice, and it really does kind of lean more towards the middle. Let's go into the website here. I'll show you a couple things, and then we'll close off, folks. On the website here, you can see a little speed chart. Kind of gives you a small indication, but again, I think it's a little hard to read where they really slot in difference just off of this chart. Pricing, again, everything's half off for the Jupiter, so if that's to your liking, grab it, because $15 for the normal size pad is a fantastic deal. Saturn is completely sold out currently, but this is probably, I would say, their most popular pad, so they will probably get in stock very soon, depending on when you watch this video. The one thing to note, and this was a recommendation in my last video regarding lethal gaming gear, I hope that eventually we see designs and color options for their base pads. We did see kind of a preview with Nacho Customs. They did a collaboration. This was, I think, a couple months ago at this point. And, they released 2 different designs here, and that's really cool to see. And on their Pro series that just released last week, they have a red option. So hopefully, Lethal Gaming, if you're watching, we'll see something, a little splash of flair on your base pads would really set them apart. And even if you just kind of brought the box designs over that kind of little minimalist kind of design across the pad, that would really be cool. At the end of the day, folks, I don't think you're going to pick a bad pad when it comes to lethal gaming gear, and it's good that they have 4 options there to really kind of dial in what your preference is going to be. At the end of the day, again, the Saturn is my pick between these 2. All my socials are down below with any affiliate links, discount codes. I do not have one for Lethal Gaming Gear yet. And on that note, if you had a good time with me today, likes and subs are always appreciated. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts were. But until the next Fresh Squeeze video, stay thirsty, folks.